is. The FBI has made its second arrest of a material witness, an unidentified man, taken into custody this morning. Previously, a man with a fake pilot's license had been taken into custody at New York's JFK Airport. And the New York stock markets preparing to resume trading tomorrow after the longest hiatus in history. This for the first time since the terror attacks. Opening bell set to ring at 9:30 in the morning. Remember, Wall Street just about 5 blocks from where the World Trade Center Twin Towers once stood. NBC's chief legal correspondent Dan Abrams is with us now. He's got some more on the investigation. Dan?
Well, Forrest, as you point out, a second material witness arrest warrant has been issued. That means that another person the feds want to talk to is going to be or has been arrested. 25 people are being questioned by the Immigration and Naturalization Services, at the very least questioned. We don't know what is the status of that. But to talk about sort of what this means in terms of the investigation, joining me is Michael Wilds. He's a former federal prosecutor and currently an immigration attorney. And joining us from Washington is MSNBC analyst Clint Van Sant, who is a former FBI profiler. Michael, what does it tell us that there's a second material witness arrest out? I mean, bottom line, we're going to see a lot more of these, right?
Yeah, the posse has been rounded up. A judgment has been issued to detain another individual who may be able to cull out more details of the catastrophe.
When you say the posse has been rounded up, what does that mean?
That means that the FBI has gone out there, the Immigration Service, all of our federal agencies and law enforcement brothers are out there looking to see, in fact, who did this, who provided a safe haven, who provided support for it, and whether or not, in fact, this person has any rights of themselves to be in the United States and should not have been here in the first place.
All right, as I go to Clint Van Sant, I want to point out that is a live picture of New York City. You see there the location where the Twin Towers used to be, now smoldering with smoke emerging from this vantage point. Used to be the beautiful New York City skyline with the World Trade Center as its focus. Now a very different picture in New York City. Clint Van Sant, we're talking about these people who've been rounded up.
Yeah.
How, give us the behind the scenes. How is the FBI suddenly finding 25 people to talk to? Why weren't they rounded up before? And these two, and in addition to these two material witnesses.
Yeah, well, this net is really being thrown not only across the country, as you know, Dan, but across the world. There are at least 60 countries right now that may have some type of involvement in this, and of course we have FBI legal attaches overseas doing this. But to get back to your specific question, here in the United States, this has always been the challenge. I can recall being an FBI agent when we were working the streets, and you would start to come up with information about individuals, but we were so almost handcuffed as to how we could gather information, how we could retain that information, unless you had some indication that a person was advocating the overthrow of the government or involved in a terroristic type of activity. We were really limited in our ability to maintain information.
Now, Clint, I know that you think that there is a danger, and the feds clearly, everyone's on high alert still, that something is still possible to happen in the future. Can we prevent something from happening again now?
Well, Dan, that's why we really have to scramble right now. If we look back to the World Trade Center when it was originally bombed in '93, there was a definite attempt by the terrorists to release a cloud of poison gas that they thought would kill 20,000 people. We know from satellite overflights over Afghanistan, we've seen dead animals there to indicate that there's some type of poison being tested.
All right, so now we're scared. Now tell us, seriously, give us the true assessment of what can be done to prevent something like that from happening now.
We have to keep a full court press, Dan. We have to make sure that any person we think might be involved in this is spending so much time trying to avoid the authorities that they don't have time to plant both feet firmly and carry out an activity.
And can we do that successfully?
Well, let me say this, that it's not flippant. We have to. We know that bin Laden has always had a 1-2 punch that he's done in other activities. We've seen the first punch. We have to make sure we don't get hit by that second punch.
Now, Michael, a lot of people are asking, how did these people get in this country? I mean, 19 hijackers, 12 of them lived in Florida, 3 lived in San Diego. They're going to community colleges. They're being arrested for drunk driving. You're an immigration lawyer. I mean, how is this possible?
We're particularly vulnerable in the tri-state area with 3 major airports and ease of commerce through Canada and Mexico. You have no idea how people have been able to bootstrap themselves onto safe legal ground in ways that Congress has never contemplated. Clearly, a person who comes in to see Disney World can then develop a different intention and remain here. And the immigration forms that people fill out are so simple. In fact, if you apply for an extension, if you're here as a student or as a visitor, you can ultimately change your status and have 4 months in the United States by virtue of the time processing that it takes for the government to adjudicate the case.
So we got to change some immigration laws
Absolutely.
in addition to what John Ashcroft was talking about today in terms of making it easier to find terrorists, changing the wiretap laws, making some tougher punishments for people who harbor terrorists. We'll continue these discussions throughout the day. Clint Van Sant and Michael Wiles, thanks very much. Forrest, back to you.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much, Dan. We have this piece of video that we would like to show you that really is quite chilling, quite remarkable. It was right after the collapse of the First World Trade Tower. And a New York doctor, a man named Mark Heath, seeing this, put on his scrubs, grabbed a video camera that he routinely takes with him to document accidents, does it all the time. And as the masses of people were rushing away from the scene, like so many firefighters, like so many police officers, like so many other doctors, he went in, right to ground zero, just before the collapse of the second tower. Now, I think understandably, Dr. Heath is not ready to really talk about his experience. It's been a pretty powerful one for him. But let's let his videotape speak for him.
Steve, get the 4-9 battalion, you know.
Need anybody with emergency medical experience?
My estimate is we probably lost 200 firefighters.
Oh my God.
And God knows how many thousands of people.
Okay. So you want me to wait right here? Okay.
Comfortable spot.
Okay.
And stay away from any other high-rise building.
Okay.
That's the target.
Look out. I hope I live. It's coming down on me. Here it comes. I'm getting behind a car. I just buried him sick. I'm sorry I came down.